I think the Carolina Panthers had a very fascinating draft. This might be one of the best drafts you could have asked for, given their current situation, especially with those first two picks. What you see next to me, that is everyone they drafted. Column on the left, when they got drafted, number next to their name is where they ranked on the consensus big board. And with the Panthers, the question was, what are they going to do heading into this draft? Because if they go quarterback at number 6, you're kind of reaching on a quarterback, and also, you're basically making it that you're not going to have a very complete roster. You desperately need at least one star with that number 6 overall pick. But if you get offensive lineman, for example, like Akeem Ikwonu, who was my number 1 offensive lineman in this draft, well, then what do? You don't have a quarterback. Are we doing another year of Sam Darnold? And they said, you know what? Let's hope one of the quarterbacks falls in a position where we can trade up, and let's draft Akeem Ikwonu anyway. And in doing so, they took a risk that Matt Corral would have been drafted. They took a risk that, all the guys, maybe they had other quarterbacks they liked that would have been drafted. They took that chance because they wanted to have a star at number 6. So first, Akeem Ikwonu, I just really like him. I've said this before. I think people keep saying he's a guard. He can play tackle. He absolutely can play tackle. His pass protection was close to as good as Charles Cross and Evan Neal. Neal's pass protection was. I think you could even argue his was as good as Neal's was. Charles Cross was, in my opinion, the best pass protector in this class, but it wasn't a massive jump. And Ikwonu is, in my opinion, clearly the best run defender out of any of those. So, hey, you're probably going to run the ball a decent amount, right? With who you got a halfback. So I think with Ikwonu, this is a very fascinating pick, and I think the right one, especially given how we now know how the NFL viewed these quarterbacks. They were able to trade up to 94 to get Matt Corral. The second that trade up happened, you knew what they were doing. No way they would have traded up for anyone else other than a quarterback in that spot. I honestly can't believe Corral was still around at 94. It's crazy to me, all these quarterbacks like Kellen Mond, who we feel like lasted forever last draft. He would have been quarterback 2 in this draft class. Him, Davis Mills, and Kyle Trask were all selected before Desmond Ridder, the second quarterback taken. I mean, that's just incredible that he was still around. Great move from Carolina to say, yes, let's make this happen. Let's go up. Let's get a guy who has a chance to play. Listen, Corral might not beat out Sam Darnold. That's a very real thing, because Sam Darnold, I feel like it's a bit underrated. He's not great. Like, again, Panthers fans got very mad at me last offseason when I bashed them for the Sam Darnold trade. I didn't love it at the time. Definitely don't love it now. But, like, okay, is he he's a fringe top 32 quarterback, I guess is what I'll say about Sam Darnold. Like, he's someone who probably is a fine backup, but just, people put too much expectations on him due to when he was drafted, and people view him too highly because of when he was drafted. So there is a chance that today Matt Corral might not be as good as Sam Darnold. Matt Corral has way more potential than a Sam Darnold that we've seen be in the league for several years. Matt Corral is good. He was my quarterback too, and I had a mid-first round grade on him. Like, I legitimately like him as a player. So who knows? I could be wrong with this. I like Kellen Mond a lot too last year. And, he's yet to get any playing time. Maybe Matt Corral won't get playing time. But what I like about this spot for Corral in particular is he's going to get some playing time. I'm almost certain he's going to get some playing time because, while I said there's a chance he might not, if Sam Darnold comes in and sucks for 4 weeks, which would probably happen, you're going to throw in Matt Corral. You're going to make that move. And so now, more that I think about it, I think there's probably we'll see Matt Corral end up, I think, if not having the job right away, winning the job in preseason and being the day one starter for them, which is great value for pick 94. And he's someone who has potential. And hey, you're not giving up too much. So if he sucks next year, all right, let's find a new guy next year. And you still got Akeem Ikwonu, who should be an awesome player. From this point on, it seemed like they went after some athletes. That seemed like a big move. First, Brandon Smith, who's the definition of get a guy who has all the physical tools to play football, and hope that he can just we can teach him how to actually play football, because he's someone who, good coverage. Other than that, though, just great athlete, just not necessarily hasn't figured out how to, make it work yet at the linebacker position. Continuing the athlete trend, Amari Barno, defensive lineman out of Virginia Tech, who is he's a fast guy, edge rusher who is very quick. So that's kind of what you're expecting him to do, is he could be someone who can win with a speed rush. The question is, and part of why he's at 189, Is he, mostly just, is that all he can do? Will it translate to the NFL level? Cade Mays, another, again, athletic type guy, offensive lineman who's big and strong, 6'6", 325. So he's a big offensive lineman, and could potentially be a guard. I think is probably the way you would expect him to be, because that's kind of what he typically does, is wins with power. Doesn't necessarily have the footwork and the athleticism, in terms of there's athleticism and there's power, right? And what he has is power. So it's a good athlete in terms of having power, is what I mean by that, which is confusing. So I should have used better words, but that's what I went with. So he's someone who I do think is very fascinating. Cade Mays is, and someone who could be solid. And his production at college was fine, better than you expect for pick 199. Hey, Tom Brady went 199. Maybe he'll be successful as well. Fun fact: Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. Who knew? Finally, the fastest man at the combine. So again, this was a clearly an intentional strategy by Carolina to go after athletes. Kalen Barnes at 242. So that's really what they did, is they just went strictly after athletes. And again, he's someone who, like I said, very raw, is a little bit skinny at 186, 6 feet tall, which if you're the fastest, you're probably going to be skinny. That's typically how that works. But hey, for a cornerback, someone who's fast, you should at least be a great gunner. Like the 40-yard dash was created to evaluate gunners. That's why it initially became a thing, because that's one of the average punt is. So you at least got that, and you know how I love fast corners, so maybe there's something else there. So maybe he could be a returner. I don't know exactly what he does on special teams. He'll probably play special teams. But that's kind of what the Panthers clearly did, right? Is they got those 2 guys they liked, and then I think they took 4 flyers on guys and said, hey, listen, these guys might all only have a 5 to 10% chance that they work out. But if we hit on one of them, then we have a star player. And now we have a potential starting quarterback, a star offensive lineman, and another star player. That could be exactly what we need. Who knows if that'll happen, but it's interesting. And again, you're not getting great value from picks 120 on anyways. So taking some chances isn't the end of the world. So yeah, as a whole, loved their first 2 picks so much that it didn't really matter what they did with the other 4. And I thought what they did with the other 4 was still fascinating to me. So that's what I think about this Panthers draft. What do you guys think? What were your thoughts on this fascinating Panthers draft? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.